Hello and welcome to the Nerds at Large Spoilercast for Spider-Man Homecoming. I am one of your hosts, Darby Hallman.
I am Jeff Mayo.
And if you have not seen our Spoilercast before, the way these work is we start off with a spoiler-free discussion. We're just going to give our basically basic impressions and try not to spoil anything in case you, for some reason, haven't seen it yet. And then we will let you know when we're going to move into full spoilers and spoil the whole thing.
Yep.
So, first off, Jeff, general impressions. How do you feel about Spider-Man's return to movies?
I think it's great.
Spoiler
free.
Yeah, this is the hardest part of these things is remaining spoiler free, but we're gonna do it. I think this. I've tried to think about it really long and hard and let myself decompress and come down off of it, and it's just gotten better.
Yeah.
I think this is my favorite superhero movie, period. Part of it's nostalgia of just Spider-Man was always my favorite superhero growing up. And lately, honestly, there hasn't been much to really care about with Spider-Man because I don't really read comics and stuff like that. So, and I haven't been watching the cartoons like I did as a kid and anything. So there was I almost kind of forgot that Spider-Man was my favorite hero because there just hasn't really been much. All the other heroes are getting these crazy movie treatments and he was just kind of being left behind. So, but this, watching it, I felt like a kid again. It brought back all those feelings. It was everything that I love about kind of the small town Spider-Man, you know what I mean, the very charming kind of kid Spider-Man, but it also added a bunch of new elements, and just the entire movie just kind of exuded this charm to it. It was just a very, very just charming and really well put together movie.
I agree.
Yeah, and obviously Tom Holland.
Yeah, I felt that way. I felt this way pretty much after seeing him play Spider-Man in Civil War, but I feel this way now. He was the perfect casting.
I agree, and it's one of those a lot of people, even these actors who do a great job playing the roles, like Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., all these or whatever. They all do a great job, but I wouldn't say really many of them or any of them, I wouldn't say that they're the definitive one and I couldn't see anyone else doing it. But this, now that I've seen this, now I just want Tom Holland to be Spider-Man. Now to me, he seems I immediately think that he is the definitive on-screen Spider-Man now.
Yeah. I think after people see me, I think I trouble finding people that say they Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. Well, especially Andrew Garfield. I don't think he did bad, but
yeah.
That Tom Holland is not the best Spider-Man or.
Well, and even if because I've already seen the argument start to build up on Spider-Man 2 versus this. I think this is a much better movie, but there's the arguments come up. Even if you think that Spider-Man 2 is a better movie, I think Tom Holland is the better Spider-Man.
Yeah, I feel like that. Probably at the end of the day, because it's been a while since I've seen Spider-Man 2, you'll probably remember it, character moments and how he played the character more in, Spider-Man Homecoming than how Tobey Maguire portrayed Peter or Spider-Man in Spider-Man 2, because honestly, I had trouble remembering parts of how he played the character.
Yeah, and because what I love so much about Homecoming is obviously this is a superhero movie and it's arguably one of the most superhero movies. There's a lot of the superhero plots of overcoming things and doing all this, but the characters in this and the dialogue between them and the relationship with the characters, I feel got me more than any superhero movie usually does, or any superhero movie has a right to do.
Yeah, I think out of especially solo films, this is by far the best supporting cast.
Yeah, and that's by the way, I'll plug it. I wrote a review for the Daily Gamecock for Spider-Man that should be going up this week. You can read it. But in the review, I talked about how almost as impressive as Tom Holland was, I was equally as impressed that all the supporting cast, even from the tiny little like almost cameo little things of like people who aren't that important. Everyone kind of held their own in this movie. I felt like, even from like his Ned, his like nerdy best friend sidekick
awesome.
dude, and like his school crush, that girl, like they all, like even kind of like Vulture's goons, like everyone, like no one there. It didn't really seem like there was any weak link in them.
Yeah, I can't really think so. As far as like how actors play characters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
And
everyone played their part really well, and yeah, no character really got annoying or kind of like, why are they there?
no, I mean, like there was maybe times where Ned came close, but it never really got too much to me.
No.
I mean, I pretty much.
Who didn't love Ned by the end?
I mean, like, yeah, it was. It was great, and the characters and the pacing of this movie. Like, I think me and Anthony, a friend of ours, was talking about. The movie felt long, but in a good way. Like, I wanted it to keep going, but I felt like a lot happened in this movie. It did, like, I think it was about 2 hours 17 minutes or something around that.
2:15, 2:30, something like that. Somewhere in that range.
It's something around that range, and I mean, it made full use of that. Like, a lot of stuff happened, but it paced it very well to where. Like, Michael Keaton, who's also, we were talking about great actors, Michael Keaton was amazing. And, like, just the pacing of him as a villain and the pacing of Tom Holland, like, this coming-of-age story with him as Spider-Man, was both just paced so well. Like, better than I feel like most superhero movies have to rush through some things. But I felt like everything that happened in this movie was earned, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something, like, that's impressive to me.
And just kind of keep on the Michael Keaton thing. An actually good villain in a Marvel movie.
I know. I just expect that, like, I expect the villain to kind of be throwaway at this point.
And in the third act to suck.
Yeah, exactly. And
not the case in this movie.
This movie kind of broke away from that, which I love. I, like, absolutely love. I don't know, do you have more spoiler-free? I'm trying to think of what we can say spoiler-free to give those people the most.
I guess we can say for people worried about too much Robert Downey Jr. playing as Iron Man, or I'm just not going to say how much or, talk about how much in the trailer we're actually at the moment. We'll do that in spoilers, but I felt like he was in the right amount.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry.
And his scenes were meaningful and, yeah. And I think we said this yesterday. It was like, he was in it enough to make it like, okay, he was actually a real part of the movie and help move it forward, but he wasn't in enough to like, okay, this is an Iron Man movie featuring Spider-Man or Spider-Man and Iron Man.
There was really never a point where he was there where I thought like, why is he here? Like, why do we need? There was never one of those.
Yeah.
And also simultaneously, like, if you took him out of this movie, it would be a worse movie.
Yeah.
It would be a much worse movie. I mean, like, he is an asset to the thing, to the story. Like, he added a lot. So, I thought they used him very well. And that was honestly probably one of my biggest concerns going into this. Was that they were just going to overload it with Iron Man when it didn't even make sense to. And I was very pleasantly surprised about that. Even the visuals in this movie were great. Sound design, like, this is a weird thing, but the sound design was really good in this. Like, we talked about, like, the enemies and the weapons that they used and everything. Just the sound made it, like, so much more threatening than, like Michael Keaton's character with Vulture and everything. Like, whenever he would land with his, like, big wings or something, it felt weighty. It was good. I don't know. I'm kind of itching to get into spoilers, but.
Yeah, I'm trying to be careful what I say.
Yeah, and I feel like the further we go, the harder it's going to get. So, I think we can cut it there. Okay. Basically, if you have not seen this movie, go see this movie.
Yep.
This is honestly, it to me, it's the definitive Spider-Man, and I think it's the best MCU movie.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I mean, like. And I think it soars above Guardians of the Galaxy, and I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it soars above Iron Man. I love Iron Man. But this movie just, it's honestly hard to find things it did wrong.
Yeah, you can nitpick here and there, but you can't find, like, I guess, big, in quotes, flaws like you can with other Marvel movies.
Even like our last Spoilercast, we talked about Wonder Woman, how high I was on that. This, like, Wonder Woman had entire sections that I thought were not that great. Mm-hmm. And that's just, there's such a big difference with this. There's just nothing. It's all great. So, we're going to get into spoilers now. So, if you do not want to have the movie spoiled, leave right now. Go watch the movie and come back and listen to the rest of this.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Like, we won't talk for like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
No, we're going to be quiet right now.
Okay, that's enough time for you guys to see
Yeah, well, I hope you enjoyed the movie. Alright, so yeah, if you're listening from now on, you have seen Spider-Man Homecoming. So, Jeff.
So, Darby.
So you saw the twist coming.
Wait, which twist?
That's the first thing that just came into my mind. The twist of Michael Keaton. The twist of Vulture being Liz's father.
I didn't see that coming.
I thought you said you did.
No. I said, like, no, yeah, Darby's bringing a conversation. We're probably when I was in the car. I asked, am I the only one who didn't see it coming?
Oh, okay. I misunderstood you then.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I was going to applaud you for, like, somehow seeing that coming.
Oh, no.
No one else did.
I saw the Michelle being MJ thing coming, but it's not as big of a deal.
Okay. Well, I felt like a little stupid for not, like, trying to figure that out.
No, it was just kind of a thing where it was like, when it happened, like, now things make more sense.
There was like an audible gasp in the theater.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and I told Darby this, like, when leading up to the point, I was thinking, man, Vulture's a weak villain. They keep talking about, I'm doing this for my family, but because we didn't know who his family was, it didn't add any weight to it. It was just generic villain who stealing things for reasons. But then when that happened, I was like, okay, he's suddenly a much better villain. That reveal just made him a lot better.
Yeah, and what I kind of like about this, like, in comparison, you haven't really seen it, but like Suicide Squad, they tried to add the whole family element with Deadshot.
And normally it works out pretty well, but apparently in this time
it was just so like insignificant and it felt so forced. But this was such a like central part of the story because it was like he was there with Liz, and it's like, oh god, what's gonna happen here? Yep. So I thought it was really well done with that. And which I want to talk about Vulture some because I like absolutely loved the way they did this, where the entire like I loved that they started out with him as like he's this blue collar worker just trying to like feed his family and his crew, and they're kind of respectable people just trying to make money, and that and it kind of immediately the government and like kind of the government and S.H.I.E.L.D. and Iron Man and everyone, like, that whole, like, group are kind of, like, the bad guys at the very beginning almost because they're just, like, screwing over these blue-collared people who are just trying to make money. And, so it automatically puts them in kind of a sympathetic place.
Yeah.
And I really liked the kind of, like, slowly it goes from that to, yeah, they tore us down, we're gonna keep this stuff, to building stuff with it, to like having this like criminal organization. And then I liked how at the beginning he was getting mad at his guys for like being too obvious with the weapons. Yeah. He's like, we need to stay low down to the ground, that's the only way we survive. And then by the end of it, he's so personally enraged and so like wrapped up into this where he is out there tearing a ship in half and like doing all these crazy obvious things because it was just the like slow escalation into madness for him.
Yeah, and you said it was really well done, so I didn't think of at any time like, this is a big step forward out of nowhere.
Right. I mean, like, I think maybe like obviously in a perfect world, like we maybe would have gotten a few more scenes, like maybe it was a little bit of jumps, but I thought like they had a lot to do in this movie, so I thought they handled it well.
Especially compared to other movies who have done similar things.
Yeah, usually the jump is way more jarring, and I don't feel like this was jarring.
Now, maybe the biggest jump is for this is, okay, when Vulture kills his henchmen who wanted to leave, and then they just kind of shake it off. There's no point before that makes you think that they're okay with killing that way.
Yeah, I think that was the one kind of like a negative comment I had in our car ride back, or like kind of joke I made about it, was that it's like, oh yeah, we've been working with this guy for 10 years, like we're all just trying to feed it. We were trying to feed our family and stuff, but yeah, you just killed him. I'm like, oh okay, well, bye Steve. Like, that was a little weird. Weird. But overall, like, as Vulture was doing horrible things, you kind of understood why he was doing it. Like, you didn't agree with him, but you kind of understood where he was coming from. So
yeah. And something I liked is, and I know we mentioned this when we talked last night, like, normally with that flying suit thing in other movies, sometimes they discover the alien technology, and then a week later, they have all the stuff and they master it.
Yeah.
I like how they set it up. This happened over 8 years. It took him 8 years to get the suit the way it is. It took him 8 years, you assume, to get as proficient with it as he is. And I like that. It's a small thing, but I like that they just make him good at, well, science and being a villain and having this monster suit.
It was a lot more believable. It's like little things like that, but that adds up to a lot. That makes it, a lot better.
And I actually saw this as a reading... comments about this. There are some people confused about the fact that he's saying, I need a money, but then he had a rich house. The whole 8 years thing didn't add up to some people. Like, he had a very expensive house. Some people didn't get the whole 8 years thing.
They didn't know there was a jump there?
Yeah, I guess some people may have missed the jump or it didn't sink in, so you think he always had the house for saying, I need to support my family.
No, I'm guessing he made a lot of money on illegal weapons and stuff like that.
Well, that's got me think, like, I'm glad they're not... They told you, but they didn't shove it in your face like, yeah, we've been doing this for 8 years, say that a million times, just to get that point across.
Yeah.
I like how, small thing, but they make the audience feel smart. Or
it treats you like an intelligent person. Not that you're not intelligent if you miss it. I miss things in movies all the time. But
you could have blinked and missed it.
Yeah, it was literally, I think it was a title screen. Like little like.
Yeah, the other thing is that 8 years later and Vulture coming in or something.
Yeah. Well, I think we've talked about Vulture a lot. I want to talk about Spider-Man too.
Who?
Oh, I don't know, some dude.
Okay.
I thought it was a movie about Ned, actually, but
okay.
I thought it should have just
been called Guy Penis Parker.
I am indeed, Jeff. I am indeed. Okay. I think that's gonna be the title of the next movie.
Okay.
I absolutely love that he was a kid. We knew he was going to be a kid, but, like, he was really a kid. Like, he's out here. He doesn't completely understand his powers yet. He's, like, kind of goofy.
He made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Which is believable, and him not being a master at it.
And, like, too many times in these superhero movies, I feel like it just kind of gets boring when it's just all these perfect people who can do all these crazy things and they never mess up.
Yeah.
I like that he's swinging around and then he'll just, like, hit something. Or he'll, like, swing his web and miss and just kind of, like...
Or when it might have referenced that when last thing you said he did the web, it was the golf course, so he couldn't hit anything.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, good. They're actually thinking, like, can he actually hit something here?
Right, I like that he's in Queens, so it's like, it's not like you have, like, skyscrapers everywhere to swing on. You actually had to think about that. And, like, I'd add him thinking that he's stopping someone from breaking into a car when it's actually their car. It's like, I just loved how quirky it all was, and how the entire movie he's just trying to, like, he's trying so desperately to get, like, Tony Stark's respect,
become an Avenger
and stuff like that. And I really, really, really liked that. I like the smaller nature of this. Like, it's not this apocalyptic world's gonna end thing like most of the other Marvel movies.
It could have been a scary thing if he didn't succeed, if Vulture got all that stuff, though.
But at least it wasn't like, there wasn't like an army.
The immediate threat or a giant portal opening in the sky.
Yeah. It wasn't that kind of thing, which I like. I think too many superhero movies just try to raise the stakes constantly, higher and higher to the point where it just kind of gets boring.
Yeah. And Logan did the same thing, and that's part of the reason we like that one so much.
Yes, yeah.
It's a trend. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean good movie if they do that, but
no,
it's nice to see more movies do that.
It is a good step. Like, I think it's sometimes it's easier to tell better stories when you have it more focused on or more like kind of down on mystery.
And you don't have to focus on, I guess, for lack of a better term, world building or lore building to make this apocalyptic stuff make sense.
Yeah,
less crazy stuff.
And even like this movie didn't really advance the MCU any at all, which is fine with me. I mean, like the fact they didn't have to worry about that; they had just wanted to tell the story.
The most that this could have done as far as advancing the MCU is making Spider-Man is more mature. and stuff, and I guess Tony Stark is a better mentor. But
Yeah.
that's the most I can get is as far as advancing the MCU.
Yeah. I don't think it advanced that much. I don't think seeing Captain America doing his training videos advanced the MCU all that much.
It did.
That might be my favorite joke in the whole thing. I'm pretty sure that guy's a war criminal, but I guess we have to show this. And when you stop and think about it, you're like, oh yeah, I guess he's right.
Oh yeah, that's a thing. And then that second post-credit scene.
Oh my gosh. Marvel is just, I feel like increasingly Marvel is just trolling us more and more with the end credit scenes now.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess kind of what we were saying with them using Tony Stark earlier, and now Captain America and just other stuff in the MCU. I feel like they did a good job using stuff from other MCU movies in this without overloading with it and just making making it a focal point and relying on it too much.
Yeah. Like, as I watched this, and as there was, the Captain America thing that was funny, and, Tony Stark coming in and
Avengers
doing all
Tower
this.
and him trying to be Avengers Tower.
It made me, it's so cool to stop and think about, you remember when the first Iron Man came out, right? I remember going and seeing it in the theaters and stuff. It's so cool, kind of, to think of how far we've come since then. That was just one, really cool movie, but now it's, this whole universe is so big that they can just have all these references and we get them, everyone in the audience gets it, and it just all feels because it's all one universe, but it's really cool that they can do that kind of thing. And I don't think anyone ever would have thought that you could have had a cinematic universe this big.
That includes 5 TV shows and
all
more coming.
Because you would have thought people making these things before probably never would have said yes to this, because they're well, people would have to watch all of them. How could we can't rely on people watching all of them. That would but it works.
Yeah. And I think they do a good job that you don't have to watch all of them.
Yeah,
there are a couple core ones, but you don't have to necessarily watch Ant-Man. You don't have to watch Doctor Strange.
I haven't seen either of those yet.
Ant-Man, you're more connected with the character when he arrived in Civil War, but not necessary.
I still enjoyed him in Civil War, even though I didn't know. But it's so cool to have, and it's cool to have Spider-Man finally in this universe, because it's been a little bittersweet seeing all these characters that I like, but not, Spider-Man's the dude. He's my favorite, and he wasn't getting the same treatment. Which
we blame you, Sony.
Yeah,
but you finally did good. Don't take him away from us, please.
Well, they did say 3 more movies. They did say yes, at least 3 more movies in the MCU.
Ugh. Make them more.
And that's the crazy thing. I feel like I could watch a bunch of movies with Tom Holland. I feel like I could just keep going with this, which is a good feeling.
Yeah,
to have with that.
Got 2 more years to the next full Spider-Man movie. Makes sense, but yeah,
that's disappointing. But
yeah, it's the way it goes.
I wonder if he'll show up in any other
Infinity War.
Yeah.
Yeah. You already confirmed for that.
Okay, I don't even know. I mean, I could assume now that they have Spider-Man, they're going to use Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess not really spoilers. We don't know. We haven't seen Infinity War. I think the director or whatever for this, or the producer recently said that Spider-Man: Homecoming 2 is going to start minutes after Infinity War ends or something.
Huh.
Or shortly after. I'm that's interesting. I don't consider it a spoiler because we don't know anything about either of these movies yet.
Yeah, it's all speculation. But I want to get a little bit back more into the movie before we go away. Another huge element of it to me was Marvel's kind of, especially recently, known for their humor. But I kind of feel like a lot of Marvel movies, they're still funny, but it's kind of it's like a shotgun blast. Some things hit, some things don't. They just it's a lot. They take a lot of jabs at jokes, and about half of them miss, but half of them succeed, so it's okay. This, for the most part, I think all of their tries at humor succeeded for me. I was me and like the entire row at our theater was like actually audibly laughing and like bending over laughing multiple times.
Yeah. I feel like, like you said, there weren't really nearly as many misses, I feel like, in the comedy section, and whatever misses they were smaller things that I guess they didn't rely on smaller jokes.
Right.
The big ones they tried seemed to all hit.
Yeah.
In at least the theater we were in.
I think so. Yeah. And it was just the whole movie was just like full, like all the little jokes they made and the little like quirks of him. It was just all very charming, and to the point where it's just even just him going to school and doing like small things that didn't matter to the plot. I was so invested in them. Like it was like even with those simple things, because like it also handled being a like high school awkward teenager coming of age story really well.
And I told Sidori and all our friends like some of those high school moments made me cringe, but that's what it was supposed to do, so it was good.
Yeah,
that's how high school is.
High schoolers are cringy.
Yeah. So yeah, you all know, even if you say that it's a bad cringe, if you watch yourself during high school on a screen, you would cringe too.
Yes, you would. Anyone who says they wouldn't, I think, is lying.
It was more authentic.
Yes.
Than it could have been. Like, a lot of this stuff in this movie, the high school, Iron Man being in it, just having a teenage superhero, all of that could have gone really, really wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But they nailed it.
There's so many ways this movie could have been bad.
Where it's made us, I think, and a bunch of other people kind of nervous. Like, we were still looking forward to it and it might be good, but there are a lot of ways this could go wrong that it wouldn't in other MCU movies.
The high school thing could have been pretty cheesy.
Yeah. The best Ned could have been just awful.
Unbearable, yeah.
But everyone loves him by then.
No. I was watching porn line still just freaking killed me. And I mean, it was a great... it was just as good of a high school movie as it was a superhero movie, which is kind of crazy to me. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. I mean, even, like, Aunt May, like, Hot Aunt May, which is what she's basically called her now. Like, there were some awesome moments with her, like, getting him ready for homecoming and, like coaching him through the different things. That was awesome. Like, I love their relationship. It's great.
Best Aunt May. Multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I feel like, they gave her some more character and stuff compared... I have trouble remembering the Amazing Spider-Man one, but at least the original Spider-Man. I'm forgetting names, but you all know what I'm talking about. The old Aunt May. She was just like old lady who was always in distress.
Yeah.
Like, surprisingly, when you think about it afterwards, no one kidnapped Aunt May.
And I thought, like, I don't know if you...
no one was really kidnapped at all, which I guess is nice.
That is cool, because it's just overused. I don't know about you, but whenever he met him in the warehouse and he was, like, giving that whole speech, I was expecting him to, like, Aunt May, to lay him to pull out Aunt May or something like that.
I think that crossed my mind, but that would have been way too quick.
But, then again, when
he just found out right before they went there.
He just found out, and there was the chance that he would have just agreed to not come after him. Like, there's a chance he would have just said yes instead.
I mean, he just kind of met Peter, and just learned Peter even existed, and then learned he's Spider-Man.
Well, I think it was more.
No, that would have been like by far the biggest assful of the movie if they did that.
Yeah, I think that was just a spur of the moment thought for me in the moment of him, like, going on there, because it just looked familiar, wide open like warehouse, and you're just like
Just going back to Aunt May real quick. That last scene.
That was great. That was great.
You also, maybe you know what we're talking about.
Yes.
Best way to end this movie. Also want to talk about maybe quick MJ real quick.
Yes, yeah. I like how, like, they kept her, like,
there.
Like, but it was like kind of subtle. Like they like kept her in it enough to where, like, you recognize, like, you start to see what they're doing, like, that she's MJ. You start ending, like,
she's into Peter,
leading to her saying that. They keep it enough, but not so much that it's obvious that it's like, oh, she's gonna be the thing, going forward. It still had most of kind of a focus on Liz for this, and she just had, like, kind of, like, funny little moments. But it was, you know what I mean. It was a good balance of that. And I think what's her name?
Type.
Yeah,
I don't know how to pronounce
it. She's a singer. But I think she did a great job with that role. Like, she was really funny. And I'm kind of looking forward to her.
Oh, yeah. She's definitely going to be in future movies.
Yeah. And I also want to talk about one thing. Like, I really like the way that they handled that with Liz at the end, because I thought that was it was a really kind of powerful lesson that Peter had to learn with, like, because I was telling them last night, like, afterwards, you know, she was, like, upset because he left her at homecoming. She doesn't understand why he keeps doing all these things. And it would be so easy. He probably just wants to scream and, like, tell her the truth, like what happened with that. You know, he was going away for these reasons, but he can't because it's her dad, and it's just like
it's. I think we touched on this last night. The fact if he says I'm Spider-Man, she could be like, she could feel guilty about her dad going to jail because, like, oh, I led Spider-Man to my dad.
Right. Yeah, and so he has to kind of just internalize that and deal with it, and it's just
let her go.
And it's part of growing up. It's another, like, it's a small thing, but for some reason that kind of hit me really hard. I was like, I really like that.
Yeah.
Just that progression of events, because I kind of thought before the reveal of her being her dad, I thought she was going to learn about him being Spider-Man at some point, but I thought that was handled really well. And I thought Donald Glover was cool. Just like, it was a very small thing in it, but I thought he was good. That scene was really, I liked that scene a lot, where he's like, you need to get better at this part of the job.
No, you need to fix this. I have ice cream in here, man.
Yeah, you're a criminal, you deserve this.
Yeah, I mean, just all those kind of small moments were great. It was kind of interesting, like, the fact they got Donald Glover for such a small role.
Yeah.
Oh, and I didn't realize,
especially, like, the thing that's the most surprising about that is, like, now you can't use him again in the MCU. Like, it's like, I'm just saying, like, in general, for all movies in the MCU, like, I'm surprised that's the one that they used him for. But,
well, I mean,
he could come back. Okay, that character,
we didn't pick up on this. We realized it when we were listening to someone else's Spoilercast that Donald Glover mentioned his nephew. Right. And in the comics, the character he plays is Miles Morales, a.k.a. another Spider-Man's uncle. So down the road, he actually could become he could. Relevant. They could bring in Miles Morales and make him, I guess, a mentor to him, or be part of that.
Yeah. Which I think it opened up a cool door for possibilities there. So,
I mean, even what they could do is, if they're for some reason get done with Tom Holland, they could do a time skip and make Miles older, because you would think the Miles of this universe would be really young.
For people who maybe don't know, like, who is Miles Morales, just for people who, like, maybe don't pay attention.
He's just some younger Spider-Man, and in the comics, it's kind of different. Based on my understanding, is I don't read Spider-Man comics really. Sometimes Miles Morales is the only Spider-Man, but I think currently Peter and Miles coexist as Spider-Man.
Yeah, like, Peter's like a business, like, Parker
still kind of Spider-Man, and
he's like the friendly neighborhood.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know, man. This movie's so freaking good.
I don't know. I know they probably didn't mean to do this, but this got me more excited for the Spider-Man game. In a way.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes me want more Spider-Man in general.
It's just like, I want more of this Spider-Man. Like, But yeah, I agree with you. If it wasn't for my hang up with the combat system, I would agree with you more. But I still need to wait and see.
Yeah. Well, my main hang up with that was the QTEs, but apparently that it was just in that kind of story section. So if you feel better.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have any other?
Okay. I'm just gonna bring this up real quick and see.
Yeah, go for it.
That the first post-credit scene with Vulture and what turned out was Scorpion,
right?
The villain Scorpion. Scorpion asking, like, "Hey, rumor has it you know who the Spider-Man is," and Vulture like, "No, if I knew he'd be dead," etc., etc. A lot of people are thinking why he did not say anything. Was it because at that point he's like, I don't want to kill Peter because he's saved my life, like, or what's the point? Or because he wants to go out and kill him himself?
Yeah.
I feel like both is logical.
And
I feel like that's it. I thought that was good because it leaves it open-ended because both make sense. Like, you can use Vulture again.
And I think, you could really take it both ways. I do think the whole, scene kind of had a sinister tone to it that almost kind of insinuates the second one. But it could almost be a little of both. It could be, I'm not going to, completely put his life in danger right now because I owe him one. But it's almost like, I gave you this one. I didn't rat you out for that. But if I get out of here, I'm getting you,
Yeah.
It's almost like when he was in the car and he was basically like, okay, you saved my daughter's life. I'm not gonna forget that, so I'm gonna give you this chance. It's kind of like.
Let's go a little more forward. That car scene, that was great.
Great. That was probably one of the best scenes in the entire movie.
Quickly going on them kind of naturally talking, because a lot of this stuff could be forced. Vulture learning that Peter was Spider-Man. A lot of those conversations in other movies feel a little unnatural. That one just felt like a natural progression in leading up. And you slowly tell, oh man, that's the kid.
And that car ride was long enough, and I think that the cues were enough to where, some other movies, they, the guy figures it out where I'm like, I don't know if you, how are you that sure? How are you sure enough to say this? But for something about that, I got
everything they said is okay, this makes sense why he would put two and two together.
And just them looking at each other, you could kind of just sense it. And it was
it makes sense from Vulture's standpoint. Man, this Parker kid is being a little weird and looking at me funny. It's it makes sense. He was Spider-Man.
And you could hear the voice. He was
he was like, I feel like I heard your voice. So they set up really well to make it wasn't BS that Vulture was able to figure it out in that car ride.
And Michael Keaton did such a great job. That whole that whole scene where he's holding the gun and he's just saying all that, Michael Keaton was very just threatening in this movie.
It's just weird to think that I don't think anyone expected to Vulture this much, and that seems to be the common thing.
I loved him. I think he's definitely. He's definitely my favorite MCU villain, I think, probably so far.
I think that's just the main thing about this movie. It did a lot of things that some other movies did, but a bunch of small things, but it did it right, so it just adds up to where, like we said, there's no glaring flaws, and it's just really well done movie overall.
It is. When it comes to superhero movies, I think this is the way you do it. Yeah. This is a masterfully done superhero movie.
Mm-hmm. But I have trouble thinking of a better superhero movie that doesn't go into the whole, I guess, a little more grounded thing or more mature, in quotes, like Logan or The Dark Knight. As far as a comic book movie, I have trouble thinking of a better one than this.
Oh, and that's what's kind of really cool about this year is I feel like we're getting both spectrums. We got Logan and this that are both superhero movies, but that's about all that connects them. They're about as different as you can possibly get, and they're both masterpieces, I think.
Yeah. And then we got, not as good, but we got Guardians of the Galaxy and Wonder Woman, which are kind of
somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wonder Woman can lean a little more towards Logan, but not nearly as much as Guardians of the Galaxy to Spider-Man.
Right, yeah. But in all four of those, fantastic.
Again, I've been saying, if Justice League is at least okay/good, and Thor lives up to the trailer, best year of superhero movies. I think no doubt.
I think Thor is more likely, but
no, that's what I mean. Both happen.
Yeah. That it would be.
Justice League the problem because it's like I said, Thor just needs to be as good as the trailer looks.
It does, yeah. It's whatever, first half is already amazing, so regardless of what happens in the second half, this has been a good year for it.
Darby, we're not going to have a superhero movie next month. This is the third month in a row.
It's alright, we're about to be recording 7 Game of Thrones Spoilercast things, so we'll as far as our content, we'll be okay.
Yeah. And we're looking at a couple more, I guess, full season ones or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll have that in the pipeline. So I guess I'll go ahead and say that here in case you haven't heard us say it over and over again on all of our different shows. We are recording Game of Thrones Spoilercast every single episode, all 7 of them now. It's less. They start this Sunday. Right now it's July 9th. They start this coming Sunday.
Exactly 1 week from when we're recording this.
Yep. And you can look forward to those at the beginning of every week. Right after the episode, we will spoil the whole thing and give you all of our discussions. I'm
pretty sure we'll
no
we won't.
free.
Yeah, there'll be no spoiler free thing for that.
If you're watching the episode to episode, you should know that. And hopefully it'll be some interesting conversations. I'm a book reader who has like reread half the books. Like I'm like so far into this, and then Jeff has only watched the show.
Reading is bad, kids.
So hopefully we have like cool perspectives. So
yeah. And I feel like those things are going to vary from episode to episode as far as length of conversation.
I'm looking forward to them though. If you guys have anything that you'd like for us to do with those, any like segments or anything, let us know, or any thoughts you have.
Mm-hmm. And let us know what you thought of Spider-Man.
Yes.
And tell us why it is great.
Yep. Is it as good as? Are we overblowing it, or are we right? Are we correct? I think we're correct, Jeff. So, thank you guys for listening. And, yeah. Nerds, our Spoilercast will be posted on, the podcast feed is different than the one you're listening to right now, if you're listening to the podcast feed. This one is Nerds at Large Spoilercast. Mm-hmm. You can look that up on iTunes or any of the other podcast services. It will be there. Yes, and this is the first time you're hearing us and want to hear us talk about games, we have the Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. Yep, every single week.
Feed. Yep.
Talk about gaming news, all that good stuff. It's fun time.
Yep.
All right, I think that's all the things to plug. I always forget about everything, all those.
We're not professionals.
Yeah. That's what I like about it.
Yep.
All right, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yep, thank you.